served dinner at 6, and my husband ate cold. My husband Dan is 38, and he has this rule that dinner is at 6. Not 6:15, not when everyone's ready. 6. He said it himself when we got married. He grew up in a house where his mom had food on the table the second his dad walked in, and he wanted the same thing, and honestly for 8 years I gave it to him. I'd have everything hot and plated at 6 on the dot. The thing is, he stopped showing up for it. He works from home now, in the office off the garage, and around 5:45 every night he'd get on a call, or say he was just finishing something. I'd call down that dinner was ready, and he'd go, 2 minutes. 2 minutes turned into 20. 20 turned into 40. I'd sit there with our daughter Mia, who's 7, both of us eating while his plate went cold across the table. At first I kept his warm. I'd cover it, put it back in the oven on low, wait. Then he'd come up at 6:40 and say the chicken was dry, and ask why I couldn't just time things better. I'd say, it was hot at 6. He'd say, well, I wasn't ready at 6, was I? So one night I stopped covering it. I served at 6, we ate, and when he came up at 6:35, his food was sitting there cold. He looked at it and said, you didn't keep it warm. I said, dinner's at 6, you told me that. He didn't like that at all. He ate it cold, glaring at me the whole time, real quiet. The next night, same thing, cold plate. He said, this is petty. I said, I'm just following your rule. Mia thought it was funny. She started saying 6 o'clock like it was a countdown. Dan didn't think it was funny. He said I was making a point in front of our kid. I said the point was his. I was just keeping it. Here's the part I hadn't let myself think about. One night, I went down to the garage office around 6:20 to actually get him, instead of yelling up the stairs. The door was cracked. He was on a video call, but not a work one. He had headphones in, and he was laughing, leaning back in the chair, relaxed in a way I hadn't seen him at our table in months. He said, I gotta go soon. She does the whole dinner thing. Then he laughed again and said, no, it's fine. I stall it out. I stood there. I stall it out, like the cold dinner wasn't him being busy. It was him buying time with whoever was on that screen. I didn't say anything. I went back up and finished the dishes. The next few nights I paid attention. Every night at 5:45, the door would close. I'd hear his voice, low, then that laugh. He'd surface around 6:40, sit down, complain the food was cold, and I'd say nothing. He thought he'd won. He thought I'd given up and gone quiet. I hadn't given up. I'd gotten quiet on purpose. I checked the laptop one afternoon when he ran to the store. He wasn't even careful. Her name was Renee. Call scheduled at 5:45 like clockwork, right over dinner, because he knew that was the one window I'd never come looking. Dinner was his cover. My own rule was his cover. I screenshotted everything. Sent it to myself. Closed the laptop exactly how he left it. That Sunday, his parents came over. His mom, the one who trained him on the 6 o'clock thing, sat right at the head of my table. Dan was actually on time for once, showing off for them, telling his dad about some project. His mom said, see, this is how a home should run. Everything on time. I served at 6. Everything hot. I set a plate down in front of Dan, and then I set my phone down next to it. Screen up. The message is open. He glanced at it, and his whole face changed. His mom said, what's that? And reached for the phone before he could grab it. Dan said, Mom, don't. And she was already scrolling. She went pale. She looked up at him, then at me, then back at the screen. She said, Daniel, who is Renee? He said, it's not what it looks like. His dad said, then what does it look like? Dan looked at me and said, you went through my computer? That's a violation of my privacy. I said, dinner's at 6, Dan. You told me that 8 years ago. I finally figured out why you kept missing it. His mom set the phone down very slowly. She said, eat your dinner. He said he wasn't hungry. I said, that's fine. It's better cold anyway. His stuff is at his brother's now. The lawyer says the screenshots are more than enough.